This is a Dutch clock that I'm working on. It's an 8-day movement. It's an Ergos 7 series movement. It was made in the 60s and 70s. What I want to explain to you, I just got through putting the movement all back together after I cleaned the movement. The lift lock lever for this particular movement is right here on the side, where it's normally up here on top. And I tell you that always like making the hour strike and then putting the snail back on. Again, the short tabs is for the half hour, the long tab is for the hour. And you will see, watch this area right here. It's lifting the lift lock lever. Lift lock lever just dropped. And so now I put the snail back on. And again, with the snails, this is with every snail out there. This top section is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes all the way around. And then this section right here is for the 12 o'clock position. And so I want to put this on so it's going to drop in the 12 o'clock position. And I've already got this arrow marked on it on the rack, because I that's where I want it to drop. And so it's in the 12 o'clock position. I'm going to go ahead and put this clip back on, which holds the snail in place on the intermediate wheel. Now the snail can't come off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And so if I move it around again, that shorter tab is going to lift the lift lock lever. Again, the lift lock lever on this particular movement is on the side. I'm going to have to get out the hand. It's hard to turn. I guess I'm getting weak in my old age. That was the half hour. The tab for the hour. I'm going to go ahead and put the hand down where it needs to be. The tab is right here, and it's going to hit on the 1 o'clock position. But in this case, you see how it's a little ways off from the snail. I want to push this back some. And I pushed it back too much. Now I got to take it all back off. I'll just take this. I'll just take the rack off so I can fix it. I separated this, and I didn't need to do that, so I need to fix it. There. I don't like how it's too far away from the snail. So I need to fix it. Stand by. Sometimes I hate working on clocks, especially doing a video. I put this E-clip down. I went to pick it up, couldn't find it. I had to clean half my table off. I did, in the process, finish drilling holes in my tool holder and lay down this towel so things would be better for me. But anyway, I got it where I want it. And so now I'm going to hook a chain to it, put it on my test stand, and see if it works. This has got a slip clutch system for the Virgin clutch assembly. In other words, I can move it this way and it stays, and I can move it this way and it stays to put it in beat. And so I need to hook up a chain to it, put it on my test stand. And if you can't get the escapement wheel teeth to turn, by rotating the clock to the left or to the right. You can adjust this all you want, and the escapement wheel is not going to rotate, and that's because this bridge is out of adjustment. So I got to loosen these screws and raise or lower this bridge. Or, and I didn't check it, here you can see I got the virgin crutch assembly off. Here I have a weight on it. That escapement wheel should be rotating and rotating quickly. Why isn't it? It's because one wheel doesn't have end shake. And again, end shake is rear plate to front plate. Escapement wheel has end shake. This wheel here has no end shake. So that means this wheel here has end shake. This wheel here has end shake. This wheel here has zero end shake. So that means I got to take the movement apart and fix that. Again, great wheel has end shake, front to rear. This wheel has end shake, front plate to rear plate. Escapement wheel has end shake. The center wheel, minute wheel with center arbor has end shake. This wheel right here, zero end shake. It operates the escapement wheel to a point, but it has zero end shake. So the clock's not going to work. So I got to take it apart and fix it. I've got a couple of these Dutch clocks that I'm working on at the same time. I misinformed you. I did not take this movement apart. The other Dutch clock movement I did take apart. But this pivot under a microscope is damaged. And hopefully you can see that. It was bent. I straightened it out, but the pivot is damaged. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that. I might have to put a different pivot in. Hopefully you can see what the heck I'm seeing. Let's try this again. Do you see that? I bought this clock from GW, and it looked like it was dropped at one time, and a clock dropping, the force could cause this. So I'm going to get out my file, put this thing in my drill, and see if I can fix it. And then I'll probably have to put another bushing, because once you fix this mess, the diameter is going to be smaller. I'm probably going to go upstairs and get my lathe to do this. And it's going to be a lot easier to work on this movement with this gear out of the way, and just like I do with other parts. I used tweezers, stuck it around the gear, took my hammer, beat it down. The shape of the tweezers causes it to come off. But make sure you got extra tweezers. I polished it up a little bit with my Arkansas stone, and it's still got that damage. But when I stick it in between the plates and give it a spin, it spins several revolutions, and it has end shake now. So I'm gonna put the time side back together and see if it works. Now I got the movement back together. When I push on one of the wheels, the bridge and crutch assembly is moving back and forth. And it was doing that before. At least I think it was. I don't remember. I've been working on way too many clocks, and that's the issue. But I'm gonna put the pendulum leader on, which is this. You stick it in one of these slots, you rotate it. I'm able to connect it to the suspension spring. Now I'm going to put the chain and weight on and see if it'll tick. And it does. And like I said, you can tilt it one way or the other to get it to tick, or you move the adjustable crutch assembly. So I'm going to put it on my stand and the pendulum. As you can hear, it's ticking away. But if I was to push the pendulum one way or the other, it will quit ticking away. You have to push it just right to get the burge entry and escapement pallets to be the same distance from the teeth, so you could hear the even tick-tock. And I'm going to let that tick for a little bit. I had the movement basically all put together when I noticed that the stem, the shaft that the gathering cam with gathering pen goes on, was bent. So taking a staking set, put it on, try to straighten it out, and it snapped off. You know, I say this in other videos. You have to be willing to repair stuff if you're going to do something like that. So I could repair it. It's just going to take me more time than what I wanted to get this thing up and running. But everything else I had back in order, except for the levers, of course. And this lever here is the lift lock lever. And I told you that this piece right here is what it's the one of the two tabs that I took off this to stop the wheel when it goes into warning. So when I got it lifted up like this, the wheels aren't turning. But as time marches on and this turns, this lift lock lever drops, allowing the wheels to spin. But like I said, the stem for the gathering cam with gathering pen was bent. I might have bent it, taken the gathering cam with gathering pen, or what I call Pac-Man, off. I don't know, but I'm going to have to get out my lathe and drill it out, put a new pivot staff in. But I've had enough excitement for one day. I hope y'all are enjoying this video. I had the movement basically all put together. When I noticed that the stem, the shaft that the gathering cam with gathering pen goes on was bent, so taking a staking set, put it on, try to straighten it out, and it snapped off. You know, I say this in other videos. You have to be willing to repair stuff if you're going to do something like that. So I can repair it. It's just going to take me more time than what I wanted to get this thing up and running. But everything else I had back in order, except for the levers, of course. And this lever here is the lift lock lever. And I told you that this piece right here is what hits the one of the two tabs that I took off this to stop the wheel when it goes into warning. So when I got it lifted up like this, the wheels aren't turning. But as time marches on and this turns, this lift lock lever drops, allowing the wheels to spin. But like I said, the stem for the gathering cam with gathering pen was bent. I might have bent it, taken the gathering cam with gathering pen, or what I call Pac-Man, off. I don't know, but I'm going to have to get out my lathe and drill it out, put a new pivot staff in. But I've had enough excitement for one day. I hope y'all are enjoying this video. And by the way, it's going to be another tool that's upstairs that I'm going to have to bring downstairs to fix this. I'm going to give you a little bit of other information. This is clockworks.com. Ergo's UW7 series clock movement. 2-8 small floor clock movement. The units were popular in the 60s and 70s. That alone puts it over the life expectancy of being a 25-year-old movement. By far needs a new replacement. They're no longer available. If you Google what type of movement it is, it's going to tell you it's an 8-day. This is a Dutch clock site that sells clocks. And by the way, this is a Warmink clock. It's not listed on here. You have to go to the kind of clock it is. And the kind of clock it is a... there's a label showing it's a WUBA, which is Warmink. This is where the movement fits. This is the moon dial. So now I have to find that clock. It's called a Sallander clock. Here it is. But it's made by Warmink, so I'm trying to find that one for you. I stand by. All these Zaanse or Zandam clocks, they have the guy that's holding the world on top. And they all take, for the most part, the pear-shaped weights. Except for this one. Now this clock is a Sallander clock. And it takes the cylinder weights. But I haven't been able to find the Warmink clock like this yet. Like I said, this is a clock. That's similar to the clock. This one's got the glass for the pendulum to go behind the glass. And this is a clock where it doesn't have the pendulum behind the glass. And they're sold out. You see the kind of pendulum it takes. It does say Warmink there on the dial. It's not the exact dial. Again, my dial is like this. Where that dial's like that. They're all sold out because Warmink is no longer in business. Warmink was a very respectable company. And I'll give you the history of Warmink here in a second. I'm trying to find this clock. Let me see if I can find it. Stand by. The green ones are a little bit more expensive than the off-colored ones. They also have this dial, but it's different style moon dial. And again, this is my moon dial. Different. This is the closest that I can find. They're all sold out. But it says Warmink on the dial. And again, this one don't say Warmink on the dial. It doesn't have that information on the dial. But it's the exact same clock. I don't have the right weights and I don't have the right pendulum for it. But you'll see that the information is the same. My computer just shut off. But I have the clock all taken apart. But that's what it looks like if this was on the inside. It's missing 2 of the finials that go on top. But I didn't pay a lot of money for this clock either. But you cannot buy them off of that Dutch site anymore because they're all sold out. And so you expect to pay more because, like I said, they don't make them anymore. Now, this kind of clock is called a Friesian clock, and I've got one of those too. Warmink Dutch Antique Friesian clock. But the clock that I'm working on right now is called a Sallander clock. And if you click on this, it says sold out. This one, they still got. This one, sold out. Sold out. They're sold out of most of them. Sold out. Sold out. Sold out. This one they still have, the Friesian clocks. Sold out. Sold out. Sold out. This one they still have, the lantern style clocks. But if you go to the Zaanse clocks, the Zaandam clocks, I think they got quite a few of them. Still have. Sold out. 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 They got that one. Sold out. Now I'm going to take you to the history of the Warmink Company. The Warmink Clock Company was produced by a company founded in 1929 in Almelo, a small town in the Netherlands. Warmink Clock is also known as the WUBA clock. This is because the company originally was called Warmink Uurwerken, and anyway, I'm not going to abbreviate it WUBA. Later on, they switched the company's name to Warmink. This company dominated the Dutch clock industry because the Warmink clock made quality clocks. They made them out of real wood. There's a lot of clocks out there that look like a Warmink clock, but they're pressed wood. Warmink clocks produce many different types of clocks, the famous Zaanse or the Sallander clocks, and not to forget the Friesian clock. Unlike a German clock, the Warmink clock has more decorations and their own unique design. Although a Warmink clock is not made today anymore because of the quality and timeless design, a Warmink clock is still popular today and a real collector's item. I will add this link to the description of this video. They still have this. They still have that. Sold out. Sold out. This company bought all of Warmink's product to sell, and when it's gone, it's gone. They still have what's that? That one sold out. That one sold out, but they still have that one. Sold out. Sold out. Sold out. Sold out. And I'm not for sure about the last one. Sold out. So again, they don't make them anymore, and you can expect to pay quite a bit of money for them because they don't make them anymore. They're good quality clocks. Like I said, this is a good quality clock. It's made of real wood. There's no press wood in here. The other companies made cheaper wood. And that's the difference between the other companies and the Warmink company. You know, and so they started in 1929. They're not quite antiques yet by the definition of a clock. A clock has to be 100 years old before it's an antique. But they're getting there. And these are eBay sold listings. Sold from the Netherlands, $349 with free delivery. This one was sold for $29.10 with another $104 in delivery. Located, these are all in the Netherlands. Here's one that's located in the United States, $225.75. One that sold for $168, but it's missing stuff. Again, there's there's 3 different types of clocks. Your Sallander slash Zaanse, which is the guy with the world on top of them. The Sallander clocks, like what I'm showing you now, and then the Friesian clocks. The Friesian clocks have got figures typically on top of them. But this is they're calling it a Zaanse, but it's not. It's a Sallander clock. This is a Zaandam slash Zaanse clock. A Sallander clock, Sallander clock. A Sallander clock, Sallander clock. Zaanse, Zaandam, Zaanse, Zaandam. Sallander clock, Zaanse, Zaandam. I'm trying to find some of the Friesian clocks. Like right here. $235 from the Netherlands. And then you get into the antique ones. This says Warmink era, so it's not an antique. It's sold for $499. But they made them a long, a couple hundred years ago. So this is a wheel that holds the gathering cam, the gathering pallet. And if you look, if I can focus this in, it is snapped off. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to cut it off flush with the main pin here, and then drill it out, and then install a new pivot staff. The part that I need to cut off is 1.52 millimeters in diameter. The main pivot is 2 millimeters in diameter. So I need to come up with some pivot staff first. And I bought this bag of pivot staff a while back. I should have one in there. I want to measure the pivot staff again that I got to cut off. 1.39. You'll never get blind. About 1.4. And so I chose a pivot staff, which is about the same diameter. So now I have to cut that off. And I'm going to try to do it with my Dremel. Because it don't really matter. You have to, well, it does matter, but it don't. You have to file it afterwards. All done. Now, you want to make sure that that is nice and flat. Now for the hard part. I've got some round stock in my drill with a hacksaw, and I want to cut just enough that will go over the stock that is left. And you notice I don't have a tape measure to do anything. Probably should. So I got myself a piece of round stock. Now for the most important part is you want to center punch the very center of this. Actually, I got this thing too long, but not really. It'll work. It depends on the length of my drill bits. Now, this piece here is bigger than what goes in. It's 1.4 millimeters. Or something close to that. I'm choosing a 1.5 millimeter drill bit. Because that's what I grabbed. And I'm going to use the red dye Loctite afterwards. So I want to center punch this thing in the center. So using my spring-loaded center punch, that is pretty close to being in the center. Now with the pivot staff drill bit, again, it's not that size, it's the size of the pivot staff that I'm putting in. I have it in a drill, and I'm going to do this by hand, trying to drill this all the way in this wood. and hopefully I come out in the center of the wood on the other side. So this is where I started, and there's where I end up, in the center on the other side. Now this is the important part, okay? You have to choose a drill bit that is the diameter of that piece that you're going to drill out. So I'm going to measure it again. 1.9 millimeters. That is extremely important, because what's going to happen, I used to use aluminum stock, and aluminum stock was a pain in the butt, and that's why I use wood stock now. What's going to happen is I'm going to drill a hole halfway down this piece of wood, and I'm going to slip this piece of wood over that, and that's going to be my tool. So when I add this drill bit in, it will find dead center for me. So I need to find a drill bit that's 1.9 millimeters in diameter. So I have a drill bit that's 1.9 millimeters in diameter in this hand chuck, and I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to put this piece of wood in. And I'm going to put a piece of tape on this drill bit, because I told you don't want to go all the way in your jig that you're making. We're making a jig to find center mass on this shaft. As you can see, my blue tape allows me to put the jig all the way on this shaft. So now I want to drill into my wood stock here up to the tape and stop. So now I can put this shaft onto that stock, just like that. So now I need to put my original drill bit back into my Jacob's chuck. So again, my stock is 1.4. This drill bit is 1.5. It's a little bit bigger than what I want, but I don't believe I have a drill bit that's 1.4. And I don't want to drill this thing all the way in. I only want to go about halfway in. So I need to put this back on and mark where I want to go. I just want to get it started, and then I could take my jig off, if that makes sense to you. So, wish me luck. If I could press that stupid button. Let's see what I'm doing. I'm going to take this out and put it in my microscope to see where it's at. Let me grab my microscope. I know it's hard to see, but the hole is started, and it started dead center. But I want it a little bit deeper than what it is. Now, because you have the hole started, you should be able to freehand this stuff. And oil is your friend. I'm having trouble with my switch here. And I'm going to take it out and look at it in my microscope. It's pretty close to being dead center. I think the problem is my drill bit that I chose is not as sharp as I'd want it to be. But I'm going to continue doing this off camera. So I got it drilled out, and I'm going to show you how much I got. I got that much, which is more than enough. I'm going to show you again. And I want to show you in the microscope. Is that dead center or what? It is pretty dang close. If it's, the wall is a little bit thicker on this side than it is on this side, but you know, I pre-handed everything. You don't need a tailstock. You just need patience. And like I said, the most important thing is your jig. I've got other videos where I went out and bought aluminum stock, and it was dulling my drill bits, so I thought, well, I'm going to try it with wood stock. The most important part is to get the pivot hole, and again, this hole is the pivot hole diameter, all right? And then, once you get the pivot hole diameter, the second most important part is to drill the diameter of this shaft partway into this wood, so you can stick it over the wood, and then using the drill bit that you use for your pivot hole, stick it in there. It's going to line up automatically to the center of this shaft. Now, if your drill bits are dull, you might have issues. That's why I suggest using new drill bits. And then once you get it started, you could freehand the rest, and that's exactly what I did. I have a lathe that I sold. I have another one for sale, and the same guy I'm selling the other lathe to might buy my second one. But if you don't have a lathe, I've got videos where I've done every bit of what I just showed you using a drill. You could do the same thing with a drill. I failed to mention, if I was doing any other wheel before I put the pivot staff in, or actually before I drill the hole in the shaft, the end of the shaft has to have a tapered all the way around it. That's to allow end shake. But because this wheel is for the gathering cam with gathering pin, it doesn't need a beveled edge. You see that? It has a beveled edge on this shaft before the pivot goes in, and it has a beveled edge on this shaft. Any other wheel, I would have to put a beveled edge on to allow end shake. If you don't have a beveled edge, it's not going to have end shake. But again, this wheel that the pivot broke off is for the gathering cam with gathering pin, and it doesn't need end shake. So again, any other wheel has to have a beveled edge. If you can't see that, I'm going to get out my microscope to show it to you. So before you drill the hole, put a beveled edge. Make sure the very end is flat. Put a beveled edge. Hopefully you can see that thing has a beveled edge. And this has a beveled edge. It's a slight beveled edge to allow end shake. Probably a, 45-degree bevel edge. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'll pick up another wheel. Here's the escapement wheel. It has a beveled edge on both sides. So, again, has to have a beveled edge to allow end shake. End shake, again, is nothing to do with bushing wear. It's shaking the pivot from front plate, shaking the wheel, moving the wheel from front plate to rear plate, back and forth. Front plate to rear plate. That is end shake. This is the movement. I don't know if you watched the video where I threw it around, but as you can see, this is the wheel that I'm doing. It has extra pivot inside to allow for end shake. Anyway, it has to have a beveled edge on any other wheel. Now I'm going to cut off my pivot stock here. I don't want this whole thing sticking out of this wheel, and I'm probably going to cut off excess, but I don't care. Put that back in my bag. You can buy this pivot stock through Time Savers. That's where I bought mine. Yeah, like I said, I got extra, but I don't care. And so what I'm going to do now is get out that red Loctite, the high strength red Loctite, and I'm going to Loctite this in here. Now, Torshindale, Derek, he is a lot better at this stuff than I am, all right? And by the time he's done, his stuff fits very tight into his hole that he made, that he doesn't have to use Loctite, he doesn't have to use solder. It's force fit in there. And Derek shows people how to repair anniversary clocks. Even if you don't have anniversary clocks, I highly suggest that you watch and subscribe to his channel and watch his videos, because I guarantee you, you will learn things. Like I said, I'm just going to put this Loctite on, and I'm going to let it dry for a few hours at least, and then cut off the excess. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and this, at least this portion of this video. Leave me some comments, subscribe to my channel, and God bless. And this is not dry yet, but I just want to show you. Once you cut it off, it's going to be just fine. I think my pivot has got a little bit of warp in it from me playing around. So I got the movement back together, and it's a matter of putting all the parts on. This piece right here, using my this tool right here, which is pin vise, I was able to push it back down. And remember, it has to go down far enough for this lever here, which is the lift lock lever, to catch it. And so the way you find out is you turn this, and you can see it's lifting the lift lock lever. I don't have the Virgin crutch assembly on yet. And I got the gathering cam with gathering pin on, and I want to test it to see if it's going to lift up the lever, the rack, which it's doing. And the third wheel warning pin is hitting where it's supposed to hit, which is, it hits this tab right here, I believe. And the third wheel warning pin is not hitting that tab, so I'm probably going to have to rotate the third wheel warning pin. I believe I have that on correctly. But it's stopping. But I take that back. I don't have the gathering cam with gathering pin down far enough, because this tab has to go in the square. So I need to push the gathering cam with gathering pin on further. Wish me luck. I told you wrong. This tab right here catches this tab right here on the gathering cam with gathering pin. So it has nothing to do with the third wheel warning pin. So I need to put the snail on and go from there. The rack was bent down, and this is why you watch this thing as it's doing its thing. And I'm going to bend it down to show you what I want to show you. I'm going to screw it up just to show you why you do these things. Now, if you watch, currently it's in the right notch, but I'm going to go slow. Well, let me screw it up some more. Because when it got to the end, it was skipping teeth. And it's almost doing it there. See? And so, this is why you do these function tests. You want to make, and why you go slow, why you put pressure on things, to make sure that it's not going to screw up on you when it has the weights on it. It worked perfect then, because I have it bent back in place where it needs to be. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm happy with that. Like I said, this is why you do these function tests. You know, all the parts were laying on my table, and when I put it on, somehow it got bent. Maybe in the, you know, with me video chatting with people, maybe I put some pressure on it. I don't know. All I know is why you sit here and do these function tests. That was the hour. Now, let me take you to the half hour. There's the half hour, and the hour is going to rest on the 1. It should have been the half hour there, but it didn't activate the half hour. So I'm going to have to bend this lever, because I know the tab is, the item itself is far enough down. It's just that I don't think this lever is bent right anymore. It probably got bent down while I was putting the shark fin back on, or whatever you want to call it, hurricane symbol. There's the hour, and there's the half hour. So it's lifting right now. Again, why it's going so fast is because I don't have the virgin crutch assembly on. So got to put this E-clip on, got to put the virgin crutch assembly on, then I'm going to put a weight on and test it. And I've told you in other videos that I should always take these suspension springs off, because I broke it. The people that make these things love me. Putting pressure on the wheels, you could see that the escapement wheel is not moving, and that's because this bridge is adjusted too far down. So the way I do it is I will move it up and then hit the escapement wheel and give a lot of pressure to make sure it's not skipping teeth. And it's not skipping teeth there. So I'll go ahead and tighten this one up, and then loosen this one up and move it up and do the same thing to make sure it's not skipping teeth. And it's not skipping teeth, but if the pallets are too far up, you will have a short pendulum swing. So you kind of want it to be as low as possible, so you don't have a short pendulum swing. I hope that explains things. I need to go get another suspension spring. Now, this is not the correct pendulum bob. This pendulum bob is only used for the Zaanse Dutch clocks. and I will show you the correct pendulum bob in a little bit. This is a suitable substitute, but it's not the correct pendulum bob. I order my stuff from Time Savers, and this is the only one they provide. And these are not the correct weights for the Dutch Sallander clock. They're for the Zaanse clocks also, but they are a good substitute. And like I was telling you, or trying to tell you before I ran into all those problems, this has got a slip clutch system on it. You move it to the left, it won't tick. Move it to the right, it starts to tick. You just have to adjust it one way or the other until you could get it to tick. Which I had. And then you add the pendulum to it. But once you add the pendulum to it, it might be out of beat again. So you have to move the verge and crutch assembly back and forth until you get that even tick-tock. And I don't like doing it on the stand, because once you put it back in the clock, you might have to adjust it more. But I like doing it to make sure everything is working properly. Now, this is what the pendulum bob is supposed to look like. And I was fixing to cut on my scroll saw a round circle, using my Dremel, make some lines and stuff in it, paint this gold, when I looked in my drawer and I found this pendulum. I personally think that it would be suffice as a gold bob. This is brass in color. I've got some gold paint. I'm fixing to go paint it, and this is what I'm going to use. Now, there's a way that you can... eBay is really screwed up, all right? I got my eBay set to worldwide. However, if I search for UK eBay, shows me totally different stuff. If I search for Germany eBay, shows me totally different stuff. I'm trying to find Holland eBay, and so far I haven't been able to find it. And for those who didn't believe me, eBay UK website. eBay UK only. And so eBay UK website. And this is eBay UK. And you will find stuff on here that you will not find on regular eBay. So let me look for Dutch Sallander clock parts. 3 results. But let me go to regular eBay. This is regular eBay, Dutch Sallander clock parts. 7 results. And if you do the same thing with Germany, you will find different stuff also. And so why it does that, I have no idea. eBay, this is Germany, all right? And I'm going to say translate to English. I just got to click on the stupid thing. Dutch Sallander clock parts. 3 results. And that's the same thing as the UK, but I found this out by looking at cuckoo clocks. And if you look on cuckoo clocks in America, cuckoo clocks in the UK, and cuckoo clocks in Germany, you're going to get something totally different. If I got my eBay set up to worldwide, I should find every damn eBay item out there, no matter where it's at. And by the way, you can tell when you're not on the regular eBay. Here, I'm signed in. Here is a UK one, I'm not signed in. And here, I typed in Netherlands eBay website, and it brought me to the same website that I'm already on. Here is the Netherlands website, and I gotta say translate to English. I'm not signed in. Dutch Sallander clock parts. They were made over there. I should find a bunch. It only shows 3. I think it's part of the European website. And this only shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 items on the whole website. And let's go to the UK one. There's a lot more than 14. All right. Let's go to the English version. there's a lot more than what the, as far as Dutch clocks, than what the UK version showed. And the UK version showed a bunch of battery parts, battery operated movements. And so why, somebody answered me that. Why is it like that? It shouldn't be that way. That's why people can't sell stuff on eBay or have trouble selling stuff on eBay, because every one of them's different. And it really, excuse my French, it really ticks me off. I shouldn't have to search here in different eBay websites to find what I want. So I'm going to go with my pendulum bob. Like I said, there's no sense in putting it on and beat all the way on the test stand, because you'll have to do it again once you put it in the clock. But I like that pendulum bob. What do y'all think? I think it looks pretty cool. Sometimes I find with clocks, it's not always the repairing of the clock that's the problem. It's once you put it all back together and finding a stand to put it on that is the problem. And here I have a board shoved up underneath the clock. I got this clamp on, and then I screwed a board down also, but it could fall at any time. And it's continuing to strike, even though I did the function checks. Something went wrong when I put the movement in, so I gotta take it all back out. Gotta love clocks to do this. Unfortunately, with this type of clock, you can't take the dial off from the front. And do you see what's wrong? Somehow the gathering pin fell out. Which is no big deal. I put another gathering pin in, and we should be good to go. But where it went, I have no freaking idea. And typically, you'd want to take the gathering cam off, but I'm not going to. So I got a taper pin I'm putting in that hole. I'm going to cut the taper pin off, and then I'm going to take some of that red high-strength Loctite to secure that pin in that hole. And in a way, it's a good thing I took this movement out, because I noticed that the hammer was loose. You see that? You're not supposed to be able to rotate that back and forth. So I'm going to put some of that red Loctite on that also, and that will resolve the issue. I didn't realize my video was still recording. Anyway, I got some red Loctite on. I actually got too much on, so I need to wipe some of it off. Because it went down in that hole, so I just need to wipe the excess off. And here, so I got the strike. It went down in the hole also, so I just need to strike in 4 times and let this dry for 15 minutes or so. It'll cure in 24 hours. I don't have enough room, and probably less. And my stand is stopping my chain. And this would be the hour. Sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Sounds pretty. But now I have pendulum issues, putting in beat issues. I'll let it run for a little bit and see if it stops. But whatever it does, it's 11:30 at night here. And tomorrow, when I get up, I'm heading to Springfield to help out my friend. And I found another cuckoo clock. It's only $25. I'm going to meet somebody in the Springfield, Missouri area. It's got a count wheel movement. It's got the weight. It's got the original pendulum. I didn't see it. The only issue it has, it's missing some numbers on the dial, and it needs a new set of hands. Like, I need another clock. But you got to feed that clock bug. It gets hungry. And if you don't feed it, it's going to drive you crazy. But I'll finish this video when I get back into town. Another reason why I bought that tap and die set, so I can create a nut for this antique Black Forest shield clock. If you remember, I used a piece of plastic for the nut, and the plastic works okay. It's just that instead of me holding everything and rotating the plastic, I'm moving it up and down, which I haven't been able to dial it in. Plus, there's not enough threads in this rod here, because the plastic needs to be in that area right there. And so I was really wanting to add more threads to this thing. This is let me find it, M3 0.5, and it is too big. This is the next size, and it's an M2 0.4, and it is too small. You can't get it started on these threads. So, I don't know what they used to create this, but it might be standard. Most European tools are metric, and that's why I bought this metric set. And the standard set that I had was too big and not the right thread. But let me go get it and test it on this one. And it seems to be, it's NC40 number 4. And so I want to chase these threads and make some more threads so I can put a nut up higher. And it's not the right size, because when you go all the way up, it no longer cuts the metal. All it is doing a spinning on the shaft. So I would have to choose the first one that I showed you and make all these threads a little bit smaller. But before I do all that, I found a nut that will fit on this thing after I tapped it with this tap set. And I'm going to use that nut along with that piece of plastic I already have on it, because that will give me the spacer that I need. And try to regulate it that way. If that makes sense. But like I said, the tap and die set I bought is quite a few pieces compared to this Harbor Freight one that's only 40 pieces. This Dutch clock was ticking away until I put the dial back on. And when I put the dial back on, the dial face, which I should have just left it on for you. if you see, hopefully you can see, this gear here that operates the moon dial, it's touching the face, and it shouldn't be touching the face. The other gear has got a little gap in between it. So this friction will cause it to stop the clock. So I'm going to use my pin vise and knock it down. It just needs to be picking down just a little bit. And I might have taken it down too far, so I need to test it. As you can see, I took it down too far because it's not grabbing the count wheel teeth. So I need to bring it back up some. So I brought it back up some by sticking the spare pliers in, which is tapered, and that brought it up. But as you can see, there's now a gap in between it and the plate. So the clock should stay running, but I'm going to test it on my stand. So the clock's been ticking away for a couple hours now, and I think it's time to put it back into the case. But before I put the movement back in the case, this is the original piece right here, but it's missing two. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I bought these wooden dowels, and I'm going to paint them gold, but I had to, the dowel itself is too big, it won't fit in that hole, so I had to cut it down. And so, as you can see, it's being cut down. But to do that, I use simple tools. First of all, I bought this, it came in a set at Hobby Lobby, it's used for carving. So, with this in my drill, I used a sanding disc at first, and then I finished it with this tool. I use this tool, sanding disc, in my Dremel. And as you can see, it's getting smaller. And then using this tool, and it's kind of hard to do because you're using a drill. You can make the dowel the same diameter, but it gets kind of hot. And as you can see with this, it doesn't fit flush with the clock, so that's where you have to use this tool to make the item flush. And like I said, it's kind of hard to do with a drill, but it can be done. The piece keeps loosening up in my drill. But I'm getting there. There's a little bit of gap that I got to take care of. And I might have the dowel too long. I haven't done any measurements. I got the dowel too long. A quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch too long. There's a nail at the end of this thing that when you put in the hole, you press down. So I have to do the same thing to this. But anyway, I'm going to continue doing this. Then I'm going to paint them gold. And even though they're not the same, it's better than nothing. And You could find these parts on eBay, but it's quite a bit of money. And that's going to hurt into your overall profits if you go to sell the clocks. So whatever you want to do to make it presentable. Painted the finials while I'm waiting for them to dry. I changed out my towel. It was getting extremely dirty. It's been laying on this table for, well, ever since I moved my clock repair studio downstairs. So it was time to change it. And I had to clean the case up again from me making a mess. And I just paid somebody yesterday to sweep my floor. That was a waste of money because I made a mess. And I want to mention with my channel, with my videos, you know, you might see me repairing a clock part 1, and then you're waiting for part 2 to come out. And that's not always the case with my channel, because I don't want to wait around for parts to come in or for cases to dry. I know I posted part 1 of working on this Lux Hunter's Cuckoo clock, but I had to stay in the case, and I've been waiting 2 days for it to dry. And like I said, I know it's not original, but isn't that a lot better than having one finial or no finials? I think it is. And with me putting the wood into my drill, it made a little bit of a design on the top, which is kind of cool, I think. But I'm going to take those finials out while I put the movement in. I got the movement back in. I put this in my cuckoo clock stand so I could put it in beat. Even though it was in beat, without being in the clock, it's no longer in beat. Like I said, the weights are not original to the clock, and the finials are not original. I hope y'all like this video. Leave me some comments. And by the way, the pendulum, like I said, it's not original either. I made that. But, you know, the clock looks good. It's a Warmink WUBA clock. They no longer make them, all right? They once they're gone, they're gone. There's that Dutch site, and I'll show it to you again here directly. But once these things are gone, you got to buy them off somebody else. They no longer make them. And Warmink/WUBA, even though they're antique/vintage clocks, they were made out of real wood. They were the better Dutch clock maker. Here's that clock, $333. Sold out. And that's the kind of weights it's supposed to have. That's the kind of pendulum it's supposed to have. So, I think I did good for what I paid for this clock. I bought this clock in December of 2022. I paid a total of $77.66 to include shipping. But the clock didn't have any weights. It didn't have the pendulum. And there's the movement. It didn't have the suspension spring. It didn't have any of that stuff. It did have 2 finials. I don't know where the heck the other one is. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Leave me some comments. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe not only to my channel, but to all the other channels I mentioned. And may God bless each and every one of you.